Testing, testing. Call this Midvale City Council meeting on this 10th day of August to order at 6:03. And welcome everybody in the audience. We're glad to have you here, whether you're online watching from home or here in presence. We're going to begin with a Pledge of Allegiance, so I invite all of you to stand and repeat with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Rory, would you call roll?
Yes. Councilmember Brown.
Here.
Robinson. Here. Glover.
Here.
Gettle.
Here.
And Sperry.
Here. Thank you. It's time for public comments, and we invite all of you to form a single line coming up to the podium. Okay. Anybody from the audience online that has sent in anything? Anybody know?
We're not doing that for this one.
Right.
Okay. All right. We're going to move on then to council reports and invite Councilmember Brian Brown to begin.
Yeah, I would just like to thank all the hard work that went into Harvest Days. I thought it was great. My kids enjoyed it. The parade being back, they were super happy about that. And normally, my report after Harvest Days and the block parties is I complain about Utopia. You know, that's been my running job for 3 years now. Luckily, we don't have to do that anymore. The entire build out for my district is complete. Today, I saw a bunch of white stakes. So I guess the only thing I did notice is there's sort of hot spots. If there's someone in the community that's super into the Utopia, sort of the 3 or 4 homes by them have the white stakes because, you know, they're doing sort of the marketing for them. And then it falls off quickly. So, you know, we have to do our part. Can we help with co-marketing or announcing it or what? I know that there's some weird things with the way marketing works, but, you know, I think most of the people I've talked to is like a 10-second convo where like, oh, you can sign up for Utopia, this is what you get. They like go inside and sign up, right? But, you know, just posting on Midvale residents, I don't know if that's even enough. So I don't know if we can announce it, you know, other ways. I mean, citywide, I think it's 90+% built out, you know, unless you were in an HOA or something along those lines.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's exciting though. Hopefully we can get a good pull through and that's all I have.
Thank you. Good report. Councilmember Heidi Robbins, please.
I just want to echo my gratitude to all city staff and especially Public Works for everything that happened to make the Harvest Festival go off. I thought it turned out really well. That's all I have tonight.
Thank you. Councilmember Paul Glover, please.
I'd also like to echo that Harvest Days was nice. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of people comment on the fireworks, specifically that they really enjoyed it, that we were kind of back going again. I think more than just the fireworks, it's a mental thing that the city is back moving forward, and it gives them hope that we're back and going. So I appreciate that. There was a few things that during block parties that they talked about that we need to work on, but I'll bring those up at another time.
Okay. Councilmember Dustin Gettle.
Harvest Days was great. The fireworks were great. I did want to especially thank Laura Magnus. She was working extremely hard on Friday and Saturday, along with a number of other city employees, including City Manager Dahl, who was giving tours of the city in his golf cart to, where were they from? Michigan?
Denver.
Denver, okay. Same difference. So hopefully they move here, but if not, they just stumbled upon a Harvest Days festival and a street music festival that hopefully they enjoyed. I did want to also just comment quickly about the music on Main that we did. I thought that was a really nice addition to the Harvest Days lineup this year. Normally we do the movie in the park on Friday nights, but I thought this was a nicer way to get people out on Main Street. And, you know, even as a council member, there were things going on Main Street that I didn't know, like some of the buildings that were being renovated. So more eyes we can get out there, the better. Other than that, that's it for me. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, Councilmember Quinsberry.
I mean, just to echo, Harvest Days was great, good to have it back. Some of the things that I heard with the block parties was probably not unique, talking about density, multifamily housing, and if we're going to have it, we need to put in place some impact fees. So those were some of the main things that I heard. But that's it.
Okay, thank you. I want to add ditto to all of your remarks. I thought the block parties were especially helpful in understanding the issues that our citizens face, and inaugurating the renaming of our Midvale Performing Arts to the Joanne B. Sagini Center for Performing Arts, and also inducting her into the Hall of Honors was a special honor for the family, for the city, and all who knew her. We made up for a year we missed, and it went very well, I thought. I got an application here from South Valley Chamber of Commerce. They would like to include Midvale in their South Valley Chamber, and so I place that before you as something to study, and we probably need to hear from our business community more than anything, if they would like the city to, as a group or individual businesses, adhere to the South Valley direction, we can do that. See, I had some other things here. I think we need, as a council, also to talk about what we want to do with COVID thresholds. Whether we want to maintain our current COVID direction as it relates to seating, meeting attendance, masks, et cetera, et cetera. It's not a new subject. In our staff meeting this morning, I reiterated, whatever we do as a city, keep it simple so that our employees, our citizens, staff, news media don't have to mix and come up with different definitions for what we want. I think we need to make it very simple to understand. Matt and I attended a homeless coordination meeting yesterday afternoon. The purpose was to reiterate the overview of homeless needs, to discuss the mitigation fund, and to understand a little better the new state structure under former Senate President Wayne Niederhauser. And we were successful, I think, in all three of those. The goal of the state homelessness program is to keep it rare, brief, and non-recurring, and eventually elimination, though that may be extremely difficult in our world, but that is nevertheless one of the stated goals of one of the state representatives. They need to get 450 permanent housings somewhere for homeless families. And so that's going to be one of the things we're going to hear more and more about. There were 4,100 first-time users of the homeless services in 2020. That's quite a big number. And that does not count those who have been there before. for your information, and I don't have a specific quantity of people requested, but it's possible that Midvale will be asked to provide help for the 2021 point-in-time census of homeless. It will occur on Saturday, I believe it's a Saturday, September 10th, at 3 o'clock in the morning, and yes, there is one of those. And we may need to provide a certain number for about 3 hours. The reason it's at 3 o'clock in the morning, that's when we can find people in parked cars, under shelters, outdoors, sleeping on the streets, and things of that nature. And those are the ones we want to count, are the ones that are not housed. So just to let you know that up ahead of time.
Is this just for the Midville or for the county?
It's the county that's doing it. We may be able to work in Midvale. It may be that we'll be assigned someplace else. I don't know yet, but that's the date and that's the time of that date. I did it 2 years ago. We didn't have it last year, or they did, but I was unaware and uninvited to go, so they're kind of rotating the cities or municipalities or voting districts, however they're doing it, around the county so that not everybody has to do it every time. And like so many of you, speeding was the big issue that I picked up on at our block parties. And also, one complaint on the east side is that the water is a lot harder now. It has a lot more minerals in it than previously that they had experienced. So that's an issue I think can be addressed somehow in our public works. Water. And that concludes my remarks, so I'm going to ask our city manager, Matt Dahl, if he would provide some comments on things of interest to you and our government.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. I appreciated seeing all of you at Harvest Days. I know some of you had different roles. Some of that might have even just been moral support getting us through those days. But I do want to thank Heidi specifically for the work that she did with getting the food trucks out. They were excellent and were very bad for my cholesterol. The other thing is that the public works employees and many other staff members have been putting in a ton of work lately that is sort of abnormal. They have to do their normal everyday work, but then because of the windstorm from a couple weeks ago and harvest days, they have been putting out, doing a substantial amount of work. And I just want to thank them, and if you get an opportunity to see them and can thank them, I think that would be greatly appreciated. As to the picking up of the debris from that storm, that process continues. The efforts have sort of changed, where there's no longer focusing on wood chipping everything, but sort of just bulk moving branches, and that seems to be speeding up the process substantially. And so that work will continue, but we think it'll still go for another couple of weeks to 2 to 3 weeks to finalize all of that. In addition to that, I also want to just thank Laura for all the work that she's been doing on top of her normal tasks as far as getting ready for Harvest Days. It was greatly appreciated and really enjoyed working with her on this process. The next thing I wanted to cover is that in response to a couple of the items that you guys mentioned a second ago. First, I do want to say that I will try to look a little bit more into the co-branding stuff, but I do want to thank you, Bryant. I think Utopia worked hard to deal with several issues in order to move the build out forward, but I do think that your constant constant motivation. Probably had something to do with it getting done faster than it otherwise would have, so I appreciate your assistance on that. The other thing is that as per both the goals that you've set up as a council and the funding that we've set aside for different plans and things, we will absolutely be pursuing impact fees this year and bringing that to you as an option for a thing to consider. So message heard from the block parties, funding already allocated, and we'll be working on that. The next thing is that, just following up on what the mayor had said, as of right now, we're encouraging staff members to wear masks if they feel comfortable doing so, but there is no mandate or anything like that in our office. However, this week we did have a number of scares with regards to COVID, and two people who have COVID in their immediate family. And so I'm hoping that that will be a blip, and that we will continue to be COVID, not as having many active COVID issues. We haven't really had many since April, or any. And so I'm just nervous that that's going to change. And so we've been talking about, and as the mayor said, we want to keep what we're going to do simple. But as soon as we start having our work impacted by COVID, there will be likely a change as far as our employees go, and masking is probably the easiest thing that we can do in order to try to prevent COVID spread in our office.
Matt?
Yep.
My thought on that, and I'm trying to say this sensitively, is, the breakthrough cases are like less than 5%. So, right, like if you're vaccinated, it's a 95% or greater chance of catching COVID. So I'm guessing people that are, it's very likely that the people that have COVID weren't vaccinated, right? So they might also have a lot of pushback on masks, right? So do we see, I'm fine with if masks or whatever to facilitate. I mean, will we see just, a giant pushback or people leaving or anything with that? Not that I think we need to do what's best for the city. I'm just mostly curious if that, it seems like a waterfall, right?
I believe that there is a large number of employees who or let me put it this way, there's a difference of opinion amongst our staff. And I think that some, if there was a mandate for masks, would take that, would see that in a negative way. However, the reason we're not doing it now, even though I think it's clear that Delta is spreading, is that I think it would be an easier argument to make for everyone once we start to see if it's impacting us, especially after kids go back to school. And so if we get to a point of where it's going to affect our ability as an organization to perform, I think at that point it's pretty clear that we can mandate safety measures like masks, and it will be, people will be unhappy with it, but I think that sometimes that's still the best thing to do.
Yeah, agreed.
But your point's well taken. I guess the other part of it, again, is just going back to, we have a lot of different departments that are working very hard right now. We have, and I'll talk about this in a second, one whole division that's basically has left the city for a variety of reasons, nothing necessarily to do with COVID, but and putting additional things that may cause tension on our staff is something I'm constantly concerned about, and so we're going to be very careful in how we proceed with that.
Okay.
That leads me to this meeting tonight. As you'll see, despite my talking now for like 8 minutes, this is going to be a relatively short meeting. As I informed you all by email, is that Jason has given his 2 weeks notice, and he happens to be the last planner that we have. While we have two that we have accepted offers and will be starting in a week or so. Part of this has to do with the challenge that we're seeing, which is development has not slowed down during COVID. And I think that it's creating a pretty stressful situation throughout the city, but clearly I think that it's a challenge with those that are dealing with, specifically with development. And I don't want to, I'm sorry you're the next item up, I don't mean to, but Jason has put in a lot of hard work for us for a long time now, especially as the planning staff has shrunk, and so we definitely appreciate everything that he has done. But the reason we're having this meeting tonight is we're just trying to clear as much off the docket as we can while we still have a planner. So anyway, so that's the purpose for tonight's meeting, and I just wanted to explain that a little bit. Does anyone have any questions or comments on anything? Oh, sorry, last thing, I jumped over this on the COVID discussion. And the mayor brought this up, but if anyone has any opinions right now, we're all unmasked. Some of us are unmasked up here. Do you guys have any thoughts or feelings as far as what you would take to transition back to either wearing masks, being separated, or Zooming for this meeting specifically? Is it something that you want us to be able to look at changing in between meetings, or is it something that we will just address it if it needs to be addressed in any meeting to make a decision for a future meeting, if that makes any sense? Do you have any thoughts on how you want us to proceed?
I think we should proceed by following the CDC guidelines. And as far as I know, there's no additional recommendation to mask if you're vaccinated. So, I mean, there's a recommendation out there that, wear a mask if you're vaccinated, but it's not as it was last year. So I think we just kind of proceed in that grayish area. I mean, I know that most of us up here are vaccinated, and I think that it should be some level of comfortability amongst individual people at this point. And I would think, in my mind, as I told Kane, I would leave that decision to the city manager for what you want to do with your employees in City Hall. If you're asking for my recommendation, I would, again, say that it should be some level of comfortability with the employee. If an employee is vaccinated, he or she should be able to wear a mask or not wear a mask in City Hall. If you're unvaccinated, my opinion would be to wear a mask indoors.
Okay. And I appreciate that, and more important, I mean, that was all important, but specifically I am asking about for public meetings and your guys' thoughts on that.
I think we need to continue to have in-person meetings. That was the number one thing some of the people said at the neighborhood parties, is they didn't feel like they had any say in anything that happened that was on Zoom. So, I mean, if we need to wear masks, fine. I personally, if you've been vaccinated, I don't think you need to, but if you said everybody ought to wear them so that people could come here, that's fine with me.
Okay.
But I think we need to keep in-person meetings going.
And again, we know up here who has been, well, I shouldn't say that. I don't know who has or has not been vaccinated. I think amongst ourselves, we've talked and we know who has or has not. However, if we invite the general public in for meetings, I mean, we're not going to ask them at the door, hey, have you been vaccinated or not? So, in that respect, if we continue to see the Delta variant spreading COVID-19 in Utah and Salt Lake County, then we might think about having a mask mandate for the public who comes in. That creates a problem because, as you know, when some of us got the vaccine and we were taking masks off here and still requiring people in the audience to wear a mask, it was awkward, to say the least. So, in that instance, I don't think that we can require the public to wear masks and sit up here maskless. So it's either going to have to be an all or nothing, or some sort of common sense hybrid of the two.
Any different opinions on this side?
I think we need to be in person, and I will follow your recommendations on the healthiest way, but I can't do those Zooms anymore, personally.
I have to agree with that. I don't want to go back to Zoom at all. I felt like that just doesn't make for the most productive meetings, in all honesty. But I'm also, I think we follow CDC recommendations, and if they say that we should be masking inside, then we should be masking inside.
I'm fine with in person. I mean, still keeping it like, even before the pandemic, if you couldn't make it in person, you could call in or do virtually. We could still allow that if somebody's concerned or if they're not feeling well. So.
I appreciate your input. Thank you. That's it, Mayor.
Okay, thanks to everybody. Our next item on the agenda is the consent agenda to consider the minutes of July 20, 2021.
Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second?
We have a motion now to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion on the motion?
Councilmember Sperry.
Aye.
Glover.
Aye.
Robinson. Aye. Brown.
Yes.
And Gettle.
Yes.
Thank you. We now move to a set of 3 action items. The first is to consider a 10-unit final condo plat for Phase 1E of the Jordan Heights at View 78 project located at 8342 South Sky Mirror Lane. Jason?
Hello, council. Very hard thing to put in a resignation. I've never done it before, but by the time you get white in your beard, you start prioritizing kids a little bit differently against a work week. So a couple generations in the military and 3 different wars, and I never walked away from a team. So the hardest thing is leaving a team. So, of course, I couldn't walk away. I'd get shot for treason, but that's a separate matter.
We won't do that to you. We will wish you well.
I thought that was in our employee handbook.
Is it? Yeah. Oh,
I
maybe
just
it is.
added
It might,
actually,
just-
yeah.
you just
it should
added
be
For
for the
Jason,
planning
yeah.
department
Yeah.
only.
Well, then I'd be familiar with that rule. I'm encouraged because these are 3 final plats. You guys have all seen them before, and I think we're all going to go home driving into the sunshine tonight. So I think Matt asked me if I wanted to do this, and I think for the developer, if we didn't pass this, he's really tight, large project. They're all important projects, but this one would have tied him up for quite a while. So we'll start with this one. You've seen these before. This is the one that Alex brought to you, and I think there was 14 of them, and then he split it 7 and 7, and he went through them real quick. So these are the final plats that are trickling back in. You approved the preliminaries on June 15th. Planning Commission approved them on May 26th. So this one is Phase 1E. These are condos. There's the general area. So this is a great picture because this is a very recent GIS picture with the ones that are under construction now. I think several of them are enclosed, and they've got a pretty tight schedule, especially with lumber prices and availability of supplies. So this one is for that general area right there. It's 1E. The next one that you'll see is 1F. So they're just moving right along. Condo plat, so you're going to see 2 different pages. One is for the building envelope, and then you're going to see the airspace sectioned out. Again, this was, you all approved this preliminary plat on June 15th, and you'll see about 12 more come through, but I think all 14 came at one time, but the finals come through differently. This one is 0.395 acres. I think it's building 18. There's the airspace defined, 10 units for this one. And this is, again, Holmes Jordan Bluffs LLC. It has been approved by fire, it's been approved by engineering, it's been approved by public works and planning. They met all the preliminary conditions you levied against them in June, and these are standard conditions of approval for a final subdivision plat. And then there's your recommendation. I think Councilman Glover asked me, Councilman Gettle asked me to do these in 60 seconds a couple of meetings ago, and so I'm going to shoot for that on the next one. But it's met all conditions, and it's just part of that overall 18-lot condo development in your district. Yeah.
Okay, are there questions for Jason on this action item?
I don't think the applicant here.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the final subdivision plat for the Jordan Heights View 78 Phase 1E condominium with the following conditions of approval. 1, that the applicant shall obtain all required signatures on the final subdivision plat Mylar, and 2, the declaration of condominium shall be recorded concurrently with the condominium plat.
Second?
Okay, there's a motion and a second on this action item. Any questions or comments upon the motion?
Mayor, I just want to comment, as I normally do with this. I love these condos. I think it's a great location as far as my district goes. Units that are available for sale are a scarcity in District 5, and, you know, putting a couple dozen of these back there, I think is going to be a big boost. So I fully support it. And would
Anyone
love to
else?
buy one.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, so Rory, would you ask the question?
Yes. Councilmember Glover?
Aye.
Robinson? Aye. Brown?
Yes.
Gettle?
Yes.
And Sperry?
Aye.
That motion passes unanimous. All right, we'll now go to consider, or item B, to consider a 10-unit final condo plat for Phase 1F of the Jordan Heights at View 78 project located at 8362 South Iris Lumi Lane. I guess that's how you say that.
Yep.
Jason?
Good job, IT. Okay, this is just another similar plat, and you'll see that this is that 1F site, so just across the street. Same layout, same square footage, same building envelope, same airspace, and this has also been approved by Fire, Engineering, Public Works, and Planning. They did comply with the conditions that you levied on June 15th, and they're coming with the final plat. This is also represented by Mark Garza of Holden, Holmes, Jordan Bluffs. So they've met all the conditions, and these are very standard ones for a final plat. So with that, we would recommend that you approve the final plat.
Questions for Jason on this action item? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the final subdivision plat for the Jordan Heights at View 78 Phase 1F condominium with the following conditions of approval. The applicant shall obtain all required signatures on the final subdivision plat Mylar. The declaration of condominium shall be recorded concurrently with the condo plat.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Again, any chance for questions or comments is now.
I like this one too.
Okay,
Okay. Councilmember Robinson? Aye. Brown?
Yes.
Gettle?
Yes.
Sperry?
Aye.
And Glover?
Aye.
unanimous again.
Now, you guys are coming together. This is moving along. I think you're finally getting good at this.
Gee whiz.
I mean, is this Jason, is this his last one?
It is.
Like, we should definitely extend this for like 2 hours.
I told Matt if we get a trainee or an employee in time, I'll stay a little bit and help train. I'm not gonna break and leave you guys in the lurch, so.
Cool.
Thank you.
So if you give him the right price, he might stay even longer.
We figured 5 years, Mayor. Keep him for 5 years and let him know it's going to take that long to train.
Okay,
Maybe.
all right. Our final action item is to consider a 2-lot final subdivision plat located at 7210 Union Park Avenue.
Okay, this is in the shops right across from the mayor's home. Last year, they divided the shops into 22 lots for individual commercial resale. They've now talked to their investors, and they want to now split this lot, which is 15, into 2 different ones. So the lot will go right down the center of this building. This one was seen by the Planning Commission on June 9th. It was seen and approved by you on July 20th, so they're just meeting the conditions you levied and then coming back with the final plat. I went out, took a picture, so the lot's going to go basically through this building, and then it's going to curve around. You'll see, but that's the building, and there's the 2 lots. It's strange to me, but for whatever reason, that makes sense to the developers. And this is 4.7 and 2.2 acres. All the same easements. They're not proposing any development. It's merely just creating a new lot for commercial sale. So I think they've got a lot of interest in this area. So
So it looks like the smaller lot is basically parking lot on the backside. Am I right?
this, it's mostly parking in the front and then just
Parking in the front.
along the back for deliveries and things like that. So the lot line goes back to, I haven't been back there, but probably the end of the asphalt. But then the other one is the eastern side of the building and all that up north. I expect that they will probably come in and subdivide some other lots as they get interest, and that interest is either a franchise that wants a certain real estate, or they want a certain size building. So I could see several of these coming back in and subdividing like this. I mean, for whatever reason, I think they can get certain deals or monies or interest by subdividing like this. So, but yeah, it literally comes up this aisle and then cuts over into that. So
Okay.
it's a lot of survey lines.
Like the city council in 2050, they're gonna be like, what is going on
Yeah,
here?
I know. Yeah.
And Glover will still be on it probably. He can explain it.
I'll be back.
I wish that photograph of the front had some rain falling out of those clouds so we could remember what it looked like.
That was before this week. No smoke.
Yeah. Okay, any comments or questions for Jason on this final item?
And then our recommendation is very simply that one condition, which is standard.
Hearing none, I'll entertain this motion.
Mayor, that we approve the two-lot final plat for the Fort Union Commercial Lot 15 amended subdivision at 7210 South Union Park Avenue with the following condition of approval, that the applicant shall obtain all required signatures on the final plat Mylar.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second, and before we adjourn, I want to thank Jason personally for your intense work here at the end and for your desire to help bridge the gap that we're going to have. Thank you very much.
Yep. Whatever Matt needs for the new.
Another $50,000.
I'm also vaccinated and would be willing to wear a mask. So
Rory, would you ask the question?
Yes, Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Gettle,
Yes.
Sperry,
Aye.
Glover,
Aye.
and Robinson. Aye.
That motion passes unanimous, and
Thanks,
we're
everybody.
ready
Good job.
for
Motion to adjourn.